In Afghanistan, a group of army trucks travels to the middle of nowhere to help a convoy that has been stuck on the road for a while. A staff sergeant complains about the waste of time, but it is really just a way to tease his brother, who is also a soldier. While the staff sergeant fixes a truck, his brother tells him they should be on the front lines and that they should join the Army Rangers. At first, the staff sergeant is not interested, but his brother reminds him they made a promise to fight together, which changes his mind. Suddenly, a missile hits one of the trucks, blowing it up and forcing everyone else to fall back. Taliban insurgents open fire on the convoy, so the soldiers grab their weapons and shoot back. More trucks explode, and the staff sergeant tries to reach cover, but another blast knocks him out. When he wakes up, he pulls a piece of metal from his leg with shaking hands. Then he looks around and realizes he is the only soldier who survived the attack. He crawls to his brother and breaks down when he sees his body. 2 years later, the staff sergeant wakes up on a bus after dreaming about the incident again. He wears a brace on his injured leg and takes antidepressants. The bus drops him off at the Ranger training base in Colorado, where he joins the assessment and selection program. In the welcome hall, they hand over anything personal and put their names, papers, and ranks into a bag. Each recruit is assigned a number, and the staff sergeant gets 81. Because of his record, he could be assigned team leader, but he turns it down. First Sergeant Torres gives them a speech about what to expect. Training will last 8 weeks, and it will push their emotional, physical, and mental limits. If they reach the final stage, they will face a 24-hour simulated mission called Death March. The only way to be eligible to become a Ranger is to cross the finish line. Training begins with classic fitness courses that test speed and endurance. Rangers throw water on them to simulate rain. It is basic Army conditioning, but even so, several recruits are removed for failing. The second phase is harder, including night workouts in the rain and long underwater holds. As the days pass, more recruits drop out. After 4 weeks, training shifts into the woods. The other recruits talk and bond, but 81 runs alone, always far ahead. By the time the others arrive, he is already turning around to run back. They tease him, but he ignores them. At meals, 81 sits alone as well. The next exercises include rope climbs over a river and hand-to-hand combat drills, and 81 keeps proving he is better than everyone else. One afternoon, Torres asks who has field experience, and only a few raise their hands. When it is 81's turn, the mood becomes tense because most of the recruits already know what happened to his convoy. After a shooting day, the group goes to dinner, and those who know 81's story explain it to the others. They say 81 carried his brother 10 miles back to base and earned a silver star for it. When some recruits try to ask him about it, they are scolded for gossiping and punished with more exercises. On the news, reporters talk about NASA detecting an asteroid that will pass near Earth. As training continues, the drills get tougher, and more recruits are removed. Each night, 81 waits until everyone is asleep before taking his medicine. One night, 7 sees him. The next day, during a break, 7 guesses the meaning of one of 81's tattoos, but he does not explain how he knows, leaving 81 confused. The following training sessions include combat rescue simulations. The explosions may be fake, but they still trigger 81's nightmares. During the next underwater exercise, 81 forces himself to keep going by thinking about his brother and how he could not save him, refusing to ever be that slow again. He stays underwater too long and nearly drowns. The others drag him out and perform CPR. Later, 81 waits outside his superior's office while watching the news. The broadcast announces that the asteroid is splitting apart, and experts believe it may be a cluster of smaller interstellar bodies. Inside the office, Torres and Sheridan advise 81 to quit because they are concerned about his mental state. He does not socialize, and he never got therapy after the incident. They believe he is the strongest candidate, so they want him to leave on his own instead of being forced out. After an initial outburst, 81 turns them down calmly and walks out. When the remaining weak recruits are cut, 81 assumes he will be next. Instead, he is among the few who passed. Now the group has 30 minutes to gear up for the final test. The team celebrates, but 81 stays quiet and unreadable. In the hangar, Torres shows them a map of the terrain and explains the Death March details. A classified aircraft was shot down behind enemy lines. Their mission is to cross enemy territory and destroy the aircraft so it does not fall into the wrong hands. After that, they must reach the rebel village and rescue the pilot. To everyone's surprise, 81 is assigned as team leader. The recruits board the choppers, which lift off quickly. They recognize most of the route from training, but there is one stretch they do not recognize. A ranger warns them that it is a private quarry, and if they reach it, they are off course. The team is dropped and immediately disappears into the woods. 81 does not know how to give a speech, so 7 steps in and delivers a few motivating words. They move all day and only stop at night to rest. While on guard, 7 tries to share something personal, but 81 shuts it down. Minutes later, something glowing crashes nearby. After the shock passes, the team assumes it was artillery and that they are being punished for stopping. 81 orders them to move. The next morning they spot an aircraft across a stream. It does not look like a normal model, so they assume the Rangers built it as a special effect. 81 starts forming a plan, but one soldier points out that this aircraft is not at the coordinates they were given. He also says his compass is not working. The rest check theirs and realize every compass is malfunctioning. Then, 111 reports the comms are dead too, except for strange interference. Assuming it is still part of the test, they split to execute the plan. A flock of birds suddenly explodes into the air, and 81 notices something glowing in the distance. He moves toward it while 3 soldiers begin planting explosives on the aircraft. When 81 reaches the glow, he freezes. Sunlight is reflecting off the real aircraft from the mission. He sprints back. The explosives detonate, but they do nothing. The strange aircraft begins to glow and shift, transforming into a standing machine. A blue beam scans the area. Then a red beam sweeps across the team. A weapon deploys, and it opens fire, forcing the soldiers into cover. Several are cut down immediately. The machine starts hunting them in their hiding spots, killing more men. When 44 is about to be shot, 81 tackles her aside and orders everyone to run. They tear through the woods while the machine fires from the stream, shredding trees and dropping more soldiers. The survivors are driven to the edge of a cliff. The machine launches an explosive. It detonates in front of them and blasts them off the edge. They crash through trees and rocks, badly injured. One man is impaled through the chest by a branch. Another slams into stone and breaks his spine. When 81 hits the ground, memories of the convoy slaughter collide with the sight of his wrecked team. He forces himself back into focus, grabs his broken fingers, and resets them. 109 starts screaming, and 81 clamps a hand over his mouth, warning him not to give away their position. They drag the impaled soldier free, but his wound is catastrophic. 81 leaves 109 trying to hold him together and checks 7, whose leg is badly injured. Confusion spreads. They need the radio with 111, but 111 is missing. While the recruits wrap bandages and stabilize whoever they can, 81 goes to find 111. He passes bodies scattered through the trees and finally locates 111. He is dead. The radio is smashed beyond use. Nearby, another wounded soldier crawls away, and 81 watches the machine track him down and finish him with a laser. 81 returns to the team. They fought to save the impaled man, but he still dies. The survivors want a second to grieve, but 81 refuses, warning the machine is coming. He forces them forward. They reach another cliff and throw ropes over the edge. One by one, they descend. 81 waits at the bottom as the last soldier lowers 7. Then, 81 sees his compass spinning violently, a warning that the machine is close. The machine appears at the top of the cliff and opens fire. 7 slams into the ground. The last soldier is torn apart. The remaining 6 press into the wall while the machine scans. The beam catches one of them, and they break into a run again. 7 is carried, screaming as another explosive comes in. They sprint while blasts erupt around them, knocking them down again and again. Still, they keep moving until they finally clear the forest and escape the machine's reach. On open grassland, the survivors finally stop, exhausted, bleeding, and trying to understand what just happened. The team starts throwing theories around, trying to explain what is happening, while 81 kneels beside 7 and begins bandaging his leg. But the moment he sees the blood, he freezes. 7 speaks to him calmly, pulling him back to the present. Their medicine was lost during the attack, so 81 has to set the bone without it. 7 blacks out from the pain. Afterward, 81 tells the team what he saw. The real target was not the robot. They have been pulled into something they cannot control, and the only move left is to reach the village. 15 argues that crossing an open field will leave them exposed, but 81 says there is no other option. They dump anything non-essential and push forward, hauling 7 on a stretcher. They eventually reach a river with violent currents. 81 says they will build a zip line. He ties a rope to himself and jumps into the freezing water. The current immediately starts dragging him. 44 loses sight of him for a moment, but 81 keeps fighting, and after a brutal swim he reaches the far bank and anchors the line. 15 begins crossing, pulling 7's stretcher behind him. The stretcher snags on a knot, forcing 15 to backtrack. In the struggle, one knot slips loose and the stretcher drops, hanging by only one side. 81 and 44 climb in from opposite ends to balance the line, and together they reach 15 and stabilize the stretcher. With everyone focused on the rescue, nobody notices the compasses spinning again. The robot appears. It scans the line, then opens fire. The blast and panic send the entire team into the water. The current sweeps everyone away except 81, whose leg catches on the rope. The robot steps into the river and lines up a shot. 81 slashes the rope free with his knife and slips away at the last second. Each time the robot fires, 81 dives under the surface to survive. Downstream, 7 is drifting away on the stretcher. 81 forces himself after him and catches up, but the current is too strong. The river carries them over a waterfall. 81 keeps hold of 7 through the drop, then loses consciousness. When he comes to, the survivors are on the shore. They were saved by 60, who explains that he was blown into the rapids during the first robot attack. He assumed everyone was dead until he saw bodies coming down the waterfall and pulled whoever he could to land. After spotting another corpse in the water, 81 orders them to move. Hours later, after crossing hills and forest, 81 suddenly stops them. He finds a tripwire, a rope strung between trees connected to a flare. That means their sergeant set it as part of the original mission. They avoid it and continue, finally reaching the village. But the village is wrecked. The robot has already destroyed it. The antenna is smashed, explaining why comms never worked. 81 follows the trail of destruction and looks toward the mountain, where dark smoke rises. The team realizes the robot arrived with a fragmented asteroid, and that its tech is not human. A voice calls out. They move debris and find a sergeant, burned so badly he can barely move. He gives them one last look, then dies. A tank sits nearby. 81 wants it running immediately so they can escape. 15 demands a moment and accuses 81 of feeling nothing. That makes 81 snap. He grabs 15 by the front of his clothes and tells him the truth. After the Afghanistan attack, he did not make it back with his brother. He woke in a hospital, while his brother was already sealed in a box, on a plane. Doctors told him he collapsed 100 yards from the perimeter, meaning his brother died because 81 could not hold out a little longer. The medal does not mean pride. It marks the worst day of his life. He tells them he understands what they feel, but this is bigger than them now. They have to get back and warn the world that there is an alien threat. The words hit the team hard. They move with new urgency. The tank still will not start, so 15 finally steps in and uses his mechanic skill to get it running. The group rigs a rope and drags the tank free from the rubble. The movement pops open a hidden compartment with food, and 44 immediately shares it. Then a flare blooms in the sky. The team realizes the robot must have triggered the tripwire trap. Everyone scrambles into the tank except 15, who runs back for ammunition. The robot appears and opens fire. 15 is killed, but not before he throws the ammo into the tank. 44 drives the tank through the forest while the others fire back, but their weapons do nothing. The robot's attacks keep slamming into the tank. 44 pushes the engine harder. When part of the tank catches fire, they extinguish it fast, but the armor is clearly failing. Then, without warning, the robot stops chasing, not because it is done, because it is firing more explosives. The bombs keep detonating around the tank, slamming the crew into the steel walls hard enough to rattle their skulls. Still, 44 refuses to slow down. Then the robot launches a cluster of grenades. The blast is finally strong enough to shove the tank off balance and send it sliding downhill. Fury and momentum take over. The vehicle crashes through trees like they are paper, bounces off trunks, and tears out of the forest in a violent skid. For a second, it feels like they lost it. They did not. The robot is above them now. It leaps off the cliff and lands directly in front of the tank, planting itself like a wall. A brutal laser fires. 44 jerks the tank aside just in time, but the robot is already moving again, chasing them at a speed that should not be possible. The team unloads everything they have: rifles, sidearms, anything. Nothing matters. In the chaos, 109 takes a hit and loses an arm. The robot fires again, and even with 44 swerving, the tank still gets carved open, losing half its armor. 7 slips off the stretcher. 81 grabs the rope and fights to keep it with them, but another laser strike knocks him off balance and the rope tears free. 81 turns and fires into the mountain, triggering a landslide. Rock and dirt pour down and bury the robot. Then the tank detonates. A nightmare flashes through 81's head, his brother on the ground, his voice telling him not to quit. Then 81 snaps awake and stumbles through smoke and heat, searching for anyone. Nobody made it. Every last one of them is burned. He spots sparks in the rocks and rushes to clear them, looking for the robot, but only finds one severed arm. When he turns, he sees the robot again, intact, standing and sending a signal into the sky. 81 sprints back to the road and finds 7 still on the stretcher. The robot fires into the wrecked tank, then starts moving toward them. 81 grabs the stretcher and runs. For hours, he drags 7 through heavy rain and thick mud. The rope snaps. He slips, falls, gets back up, and keeps pulling. Then his watch starts beeping. The 24 hours are over. 7 wakes up and tells him something he never knew, that he used to serve in the same team as 81's brother, and his brother never stopped talking about becoming a ranger. 7 says, 81 has not failed, because he never quit. That moment breaks when the robot scans again. 81 sees smoke venting from the machine. It is overheating, dumping heat out of its body. Then he sees the quarry, and he gets an idea. 81 hides 7 and runs to the private quarry. Inside, he finds dynamite, a flare gun, and a remote that controls the rock carrier. The robot moves through the forest and nearly finds 7, but 81 fires the flare, drawing it away. The robot turns and charges into the quarry. The dynamite detonates. The explosion drops the robot and throws it into a stagger. 81 bursts out in a bulldozer and rams the machine, pinning it against the quarry wall. The robot fights back, trying to free itself. 81 triggers the rock carrier, and boulders start dumping down onto the robot's frame. The robot fires up its thrusters and shoves the bulldozer back, then powers the laser again. 81 floors it and slams the robot into the wall a second time. The bulldozer is coming apart, but it holds long enough for the rocks to choke the robot's vents. Heat builds inside the machine with nowhere to go. The robot makes one last move and shoots down a tower. It collapses onto the bulldozer, but 81 jumps free at the last second. The robot overheats and detonates. The blast chains into the quarry explosives, triggering a violent sequence of secondary explosions. The robot collapses and finally powers down, but as it breaks apart, a compartment opens and bombs spill out. 81 runs for his life. He clears the quarry just before the flames reach those explosives and trigger an even bigger eruption. By morning, 81 carries 7 on his shoulders back toward the base. What he finds is chaos, bodies everywhere, and helicopters dropping alien machine parts into secured zones. Doctors take 7 immediately. Sheridan tells 81 they only just secured the base and half the battalion is gone. The alien robots hit everywhere. Humanity stopped the first wave, but a global invasion is coming. News footage from around the world shows asteroid fragments landing in different countries, each impact releasing more machines. Leaders scramble. Allied forces mobilize. 81 tells Sheridan what he learned. The ventilation system is the weak point. The intel is transmitted to every country at once. Sheridan tells him that information will save lives and officially welcomes him as a ranger. Later, 81 addresses the ranger team, then boards the helicopters with the others. They lift off together, heading straight into the war. And when 81 finally sleeps, his dream is not the convoy, not the fire. It is a quiet moment with his brother. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.